Okay, this time we're going to have another relationship. So if the function f of x is continuous at x equals a, it need not be differentiable at x equals a. In other words, continuity does not imply differentiability. Okay, so ito yung kaibahan nung kanina. So parang opposite siya kasi kapag differentiable ang ating function, automatic continuous na. Pero in this case, kapag ang function ay continuous, hindi natin masasabi agad na differentiable ito. Let's consider this example. F of x equals absolute value of x. Okay, kapag meron tayong absolute value, makakagawa tayo ng piecewise function wherein we have f of x equals x if x greater than or equal to 0 and negative x if x is less than 0. Okay, ano ibig sabihin nito? So for instance, ang ating x ay 5 and magkakaroon tayo ng absolute value of 5 which is also equal to 5. Ito yun. Is greater than or equal to 0 siya. Now, kapag naman x equals negative 5, so anong mangyayari? Ang sabi dito sa pangalawang sub-function, pag negative yung ating pong number, kailangan natin maglagay ng negative. Okay? So that means, ilagay natin negative dito para maging positive. Okay? So yung ibig sabihin na dalawa yung ating pong sub-functions pagdating sa absolute value. Kapag ang x ay positive and kapag ang x ay negative. Right. So let's try to determine if this function is continuous. Okay? So first, kailangan nating malaman kung ang f of c is defined. In here, our c is 0. Ito. So we have c equals 0. And if we're going to substitute our value 0 to the function, we can have f of 0 is equal to the absolute value of 0, which is 0. And we know that 0 is an element of real number, so define ang ating function. Next, let's have the second condition. Let's determine the limit of the function as x approaches c if it exists. Okay, so to find this, we have to show that our limit as x approaches 0 from the left must be equal to the limit of the function as x approaches 0 from the right. Okay, paano natin malalaman yun? Okay, so pwede tayong gumawa ng number line. At mapapansin natin dito, ay lagyan natin dito yung 0. Then we know na yung number na less than 0 ay negative 1 at yung number na greater than 0 is 1. So, ang kailangan natin dyan ay yung pinakamalapit na number sa 0 para mahanap natin yung mga left-hand values. Okay? So, if our x is let's say for instance we have negative 0.01. Okay, so ano ang ating pong limit? So ang limit ng negative 0.01 sorry, Okay, so ang limit natin, ang negative 0.001, if we're going to substitute this in our x, so syempre magiging positive 0.01. Then, what if we have negative 0.001? Ano yung ating f of x? So, ang absolute value nito is 0.01. So, ito naman sa right, kuha natin ng dalawa. So, we have here, dito naman tayo kukuha ng mga values. So, we have 0.001 and 0.01. And ang absolute value nito is again 0.001 and 0.01. Okay, kung titignan natin dito, yung ating mga values ay nag-approach, as x approaches 0 from the left, nag-approach ang ating pong function sa 0. Dito naman, from the right, nag-approach ang ating pong function sa 0 din. So, masasabi natin dito na yung limit of the absolute value x as x approaches 0 from the left is equal to the limit of the absolute value of x as x approaches 0 from the right. Kasi nakita naman natin na dito sa ating left hand, 0 yung ating pong limit, and then sa right hand naman, 0 din. So, that means nasatisfy yung ating pangatlong condition that f of c is equal to the limit of the function as x approaches c. Okay, kasi ang f of c natin dito ay 0. Dito naman sa limit ay 0 din. So, correct. That's why we could say that, therefore, the function f of x equals the absolute value of x is continuous at x equals 0. Ngayon tignan natin kung differentiable ba yung ating function. Okay. So tignan natin kung differentiable ba ang ating function. So we have here, yung given natin is f of x equals the absolute value of x. Okay? To determine our derivative, we have f prime of x is equal to the limit, kaya nyo ako sabayan, the limit of f of x plus delta x minus f of x as x approaches 0. As delta x approaches to 0, and nakalimutan natin yung delta x. Yan. Alright. So, since our x is the absolute value, or our f of x is the absolute value, i-write lang natin to, magiging limit of ang ating f of x plus delta x, magiging absolute value of x plus delta x minus yung ating original function, which is absolute value of x all over delta x as delta x approaches 0. Okay? So, as you can see, kung ang ating pong gusto nating malaman if it is differentiable, at x equals 0. So, pwede natin i-substitute yung ating pong value na f of 0. So, we have the limit of 0 plus delta x minus the absolute value of 0 over delta x as delta x approaches to 0. Okay, so simplify that, we have the absolute value of x, delta x over delta x as delta x approaches to 0. Okay. So again, babalik tayo doon sa ating pong piecewise function na ang ating pong f of x, or yung absolute value ng x actually is, we have these two sub-functions. Okay? Yan. Alright. So, alam natin na kapag ang ating syempre mapapansin nyo dito, kung ang gagawin natin ay substitute agad natin tong delta x na to, so ang mangyayari magiging 0 to. So ibig sabihin hindi pwede, okay, exclude agad natin na yung delta x, okay, and delta x should not be equal to 0. Kasi pag naging 0 ito, automatic magkakaroon tayo ng indeterminate and undefined, di ba? Na value. So, ang gagawin natin, exclude natin ang 0. So, ano mangyayari? Dapat magiging, doon na lang tayo sa x is greater than 0 and negative x is x less than 0. So, paano yun? So, mangyayari magiging limit. Kaya magkaroon tayo ng may pakita natin dito yung left hand derivative. And yung ating right hand derivative. So sa left hand derivative natin, we could say that our limit or f prime of x is equal to the limit of negative, okay, absolute value of delta x and over delta x as delta x approaches to 0. Ang isa naman, we have the limit, okay, from the left ito ha, the limit of positive naman dito. So we have absolute value of x divided by delta x as delta x approaches to 0. Alright. So ano magiging sagot dito? Okay, so pwede nating sabihin na delta x divided by delta x is 1. Diba? And since meron tayong negative, we have the limit of negative 1 as delta x approaches to 0 from the left, which is equal to negative 1. Ang isa naman, we have the limit. Okay, we can cancel this. So that would equal to 1. That's why we have the limit 1 as delta x approaches to 0, which is equal to 1 kasi limit to ba constant na yan. So mapapansin ninyo, ang ating left hand derivative is not equal to our right hand derivative. Kasi sa left hand derivative natin, nakuha natin is negative 1. Dito naman sa right hand derivative natin is positive 1. That's why we could say that in our conclusion, since left hand derivative is not equal to the right hand derivative, then f of x equals the absolute value of x is not differentiable. Okay? So, yan. Ngayon tignan natin yung graph ng function na ito. Okay, kung i-graph natin to, we have y equals absolute values we have here. Absolute value of x. Ayan. So, ito yung itsura ng ating pong graph ng ating y or ng ating function na f of x equals absolute value of x. Okay? At kapag makakita kayo ng ganito, okay, kapag meron tayong corner, no? Ang corner natin dito ay 0, that means hindi siya differentiable. Pero continuous siya, no? Kasi mapapansin natin dito, wala namang hole, walang gap, walang interruption, tuloy-tuloy from if we're going to trace this graph. Yun nga lang, hindi siya differentiable. Kasi naipakita natin kanina, no, na hindi nag-equal yung ating left-hand derivative sa right-hand derivative. So possible yon na mangyari. Kaya tama itong ating concept na kapag ang function na ay continuous, hindi ibig sabihin na differentiable. In other words, continuity does not imply differentiability.